Today I'm going to talk about what the true meaning of twin flame connection is. What is that love part that so many people talk about? And what exactly learning how to love yourself truly means? Before I start anything, I want to point it out that every twin flame journey is different. And I just want to share my story, what we have been going through with my twin flame, so you have a better understanding of what the real meaning of love is. And the real meaning of love is to have the other person to wake up, to have the other person to become self-aware. And in this video, I'm going to use not only my experiences that led me to a Kundalini awakening, but also the channelings that I have received after the Kundalini awakening. I also got connected to someone in my past life who helped me greatly in order to understand my own twin flame and also understand myself as well. And he was also a twin flame connection. So I'm going to show you the dynamics within this journey, within this awakening process. And by the end of this video, you will be able to see it a little bit clearer. What is the true power of a twin flame connection? And it's really not what most videos are going to talk about, that feel loved, because love has so many meanings, and this is what this twin flame connection is really teaching you. So I met my twin flame nearly 8 years ago, and the first experiences, like you feel a pull, you feel a click, you feel something that it's like you know it, you don't question it. And I never heard about twin flames before. I will be really honest. I only got to that stage at the very end. I believed that it was a very deep instinct that got pulled, triggered in me. And I believe that it's a very deep instinct. It's a deeper consciousness that is in the body that is more automatic, because you don't give permission that to happen, because that's just an automatic rule that opposites are going to attract, and it's completely out of your control. And once when you are triggered, you are pulled together with this person. The other huge shift that happened to me, that it felt like I never felt so alive when I was with this person, and my behavior shifted. I became a different person. It kind of felt like somebody snitched my body, like these body snatcher movies, that I'm just like, who is this person in my body? And this is actually that part of you that you have been repressing, you have forgotten, that gets actually reactivated, and you relive basically that little child self, but in an adult body. And this is where the problem is, that your needs and cravings and your mindset, especially I'm talking from a chaser perspective because I was the chaser that time, is going to be very much like how a little child would behave. That I want all that unconditional love from you. I want to be with me like all the time. And when my twin flame wasn't around, I felt this huge anxiety, this separation anxiety, that when he was with me, especially when he was hugging me, I could feel whole. This is what I felt. I felt this wholeness, that everything was calm, like the whole world just got shut out. And as soon as he left, he wasn't around. It wasn't my decision. It's an automatic part of your own nervous system. You have to understand it. Just I just went crazy. That anxiety was so extreme. And this is where the key is, that there are different parts in you. And in order to overcome this, it's because you try to resolve it, and we try to resolve these impulses by trying to control the other person. That if the other person would act differently, we would be different. But what this relationship tries to teach us, that to be able to connect to different awareness parts within us, that's what we are disconnected from, because those other parts of the nervous system of the brain could actually help us to first of all understand the situation clearer, but also to gain knowledge about ourselves as well, and to control is not the best word, but to feel calmer. Because as soon as you understand why you behave the way you behave, what is really happening, you are going to be able to manage your emotions a lot easier. Especially if you are a twin flame chaser, because a chaser is going to be more of an impulsive person, and you feel that the emotions are just bubbling up, and you can't do anything against it. You just channel whatever you feel. You can go through tantrums, you can have this extreme anger, and you know what you should do. But the problem is that your emotional part is just too extreme. It doesn't matter what your head thinks, you can't execute. And what really happens is, because your twin flame is going to be the opposite, the twin flame is going to be the runner, more connected to the head, this prefrontal cortex. And I'm saying it because I used to be in that one. And the prefrontal cortex has the impulse control. And that's why they are able to go away so easily. That's why they seem so unemotional. And the truth is that it's not about, okay, which one is good, which one is bad. Both of you represent that part that is repressed. So when you have both, when you have a holistic, I would say, operating system within you, and they are integrated, that's when both of you become secure. And this is what you try to teach each other. But if you are unaware, what you are really creating is that you reinforce what you have believed in already. And the reason I'm saying this, because this is how I calmed down. That in the beginning, of course, I was watching a lot of videos. What's wrong with my partner? Why does he behave the way he behaves? Are we supposed to stay together? Because the emotional part is so strong that you are absolutely certain that you have to be with that person, because that person is just so very different from everyone else that you have ever experienced. And it's in that body system. And the body is going to be so much stronger than the head for a specific reason. The body has delta, theta, and alpha brainwaves. These are very, very rigid, very, very strong. These are earlier connections compared to the head that is beta. And beta brainwaves are like this. The hertz is different and it's newer. So whatever is stronger, whatever is more rigid, of course, that is going to overpower whatever is on the front. And this is how this duality is within you, that the head and the body tries to control each other. That should I follow my heart, should I follow my head? And in reality, you are supposed to make them communicate together, so when your body and your mind works in a synchronized way, you can see reality and yourself in a much clearer way. And I'm saying the head because this is what I got connected back to. There was a video that I've seen about twin flames that said the following, that twin flames are mirrors, mirror souls, but The problem is that when we talk about mirroring, we try to look for the good things, what we agree with, and that's actually the head. And if our values are the same or we like the same movie, but twin flames actually mirror the core wound. Twin flames, they mirror the negatives. Twin flames, they mirror the insecurity. So basically the subconscious of the person. And you have to be able to see that part and how you are exactly the same. And what that means is that for the same trauma, how differently you react and how your twin flame reacts very differently. So the reaction, how they execute, that's coming from the head, is going to be opposite, but at the very, very core, they mean exactly the same thing. So an example would be that a twin flame chaser, and I'm going to do lots of little videos about this to actually understand the two opposites later on. That a twin flame chaser, when the chaser feels insecure, for example, and wants to make the relationship work, they can be overreactive and they can seem controlling towards the partner. And this is how they feel that they love. And this is what they also want to gain love, that they go towards too much the partner. And then the twin flame runner does it in a different way, that when there is a problem, instead of going towards, like they would say there's more like anger or control towards the partner, they actually go away. And they want to come back when the partner is calm. And from each other's perspective, they actually just recreate each other's wounds. The twin flame chaser sees it as a neglect, because that's actually coming from this neglectful parenting, and they recreate, the trauma is recreated. And then the runner is going to be a completely opposite, that they feel that because the chaser keeps talking and feels impulsive, they recreate this trauma that I had an authoritarian parent who always told me what to do, and they go away. They can't be, they won't want to be like that parent figure. And they see that this is the solution, that they go away. So both of them try to resolve a problem, but in two opposite ways. And at the very core, the problem is that there is no healthy communication, there is no proper understanding in these two opposite types of people. And that's where the abuse, that's where the misunderstanding is coming from. And the other big misunderstanding is that most of the twin flame videos are talking about that the twin flame connection is like a match made in heaven, and when you meet, this relationship is going to be something perfect, which is total crap. Relationships are not about finding the perfect partner and there will be no issues. Relationships are about to be able to communicate and understand your partner. So basically, when there is a problem, both of you are healthy enough to be able to overcome that issue. That is a healthy relationship. And what happened after that? So this is the interesting part where I realized why I couldn't stay with my twin flame. I got connected to my past life and my husband from past lives. And I've seen what happened to me. What happened is that I loved my husband so much, and he loved me so much as well. And I had this vision that kept coming back to me, and I could feel it physically, that we were hugging, and I felt like I want to stay in this moment forever and in no other moment, in nothing else. So that's basically, I want it to be kind of like frozen in that exact feeling, in that exact experience. And he died during the war, during World War II. And it was something I couldn't process. It was something I couldn't overcome. And I committed suicide in that life. And this is the trauma that really repeated in this life as well. That I met someone that I loved so much, and he loved me as well. But the life circumstances didn't allow us to stay together. But in this life, I am supposed to be able to overcome this. And another thing I would say is important here is also to understand what the other person has to go through, to understand that their awakening. Because maybe their awakening is not going to be a Kundalini awakening, but you have to see it as compared to the individual. That maybe that 10% change that is compared to you, compared to them is maybe like 80%, because they are so rigid in themselves. And this is what is or was in my twin flame, who was actually married. So that was the life circumstance that I had to overcome. Another thing I had to overcome is that to really understand his core wound. And the core wound is what really bothered him, what was his pain, how he felt. And when I started to channel and I was able to get information, I could actually feel at the very, very core how he felt. That exact feeling that he just wanted to be loved by everyone. And for him, it's as many people as possible. And that's when I understood that this was the core motivation behind all of his actions. And you have to also understand that the deeper something is, the more difficult it is to see, first of all, and the second, to overcome that. And that's why I felt that he has lied even to me, because he couldn't bear the thought me leaving him. So from my perspective, he was a jerk because he lied to me. But from his perspective, he lied because he loved me. And when I see it again with a higher, I would say, awareness, to see my perspective, his perspective, and the whole perspective together, I can understand that what he did was not a malignant thing, but at the same time, now I have the awareness. I also know that this is not something healthy that would last in a long-term relationship, because a long-term relationship requires trust and being honest with the other person. But the difference is when you say it this way, that you can still love the person, which means that you accept the person for who they are, but you also accept yourself. So when you move away, basically, you don't hate the person, you can still love the person. And another thing I had to learn is that we believe that love is that, okay, I imagine what love is and I have to feel that way. But there is another way that you also understand the other person and you understand their love language and how much love they are able to give you. Because when you feel that you are not loved enough, you basically feel deep down that you are not worthy, you are not good enough. But you have to give another viewpoint that maybe the other person is unable to give that way of love that you would want. So what the other person is capable of giving you and what you need might be different, but it's not your fault or the other person's fault, it's just how things are. And the reason I'm saying this, because this is exactly what you have experienced as a child, and this is what you are reliving. That it's not that you were unworthy, it's not that you were unlovable, it's that this is just how things were. And now you are an adult, you are reliving this trauma, and now you have the ability to restructure how you see the same problem, the same situation as an adult. And then I'm going to say what happened to my twin flame and what he actually learned. So we both represent love, and the representation means that you have a life where you are on one end and another life, your other version, on the other end. So for me, it was that in that life that I got connected to, I was an anxious, preoccupied. And in this life, as I'm Rita Simon, I was born as an avoidant. So basically, I was a chaser in that past life, and in this life, I was a runner. And the reason I became a runner is because before I died, like I can remember, I can recall that I have made a decision to change. Because I said this at my husband's funeral, that I will not love again. So that was a decision I made because love hurt me so much. And I didn't want to experience that pain anymore. And in this life, this is how I started. But during my years, during my time, something changed, something flipped. And this is how I went from an avoidant type of person back to an anxious, preoccupied, the person I was or the person I am in that other life, and relived the same trauma. This is synchronized. And when you sync, when you can connect, when you can resolve, when you connect to a wholer version of yourself, that's when you gain more energy in your body and a higher awareness. That is a Kundalini awakening. And this twin flame, his name is Chris, by the way, he also represents love. But he, in this life, I represented in that other life, which means that he is going to switch. So he is an avoidant in this life. That's the twin flame runner. And before he dies, he has to regret that he has never divorced. He was too afraid to make a change. So this is where the lesson part is, that you already know what is supposed to happen. This is what has been told to me when I channeled, that this is what he has to go through. And the reason he cannot open up. So this is what my husband told me from this other life, because I really wanted to understand my twin flame, why he behaves the way he behaves. And he said that he wants to love, but he is just so afraid of that he feels that no amount of proof would be enough for him to be able to open up, because he has been so hurt at such an early age or so many times. And the interesting thing is that when I actually asked my twin flame if this could be true, I nearly made him cry. It touched him so deeply. And the reason he is like that in this life, because I asked what caused him this way of behavior. My husband from past life showed the original trauma that was also in another life of my twin flame. And this is what I have seen, that he was sitting next to a bed in the hospital, and there was a little girl there. That was his daughter. And his daughter died. And that's when he shut his heart down. Because an attachment is not only the attachment to the parent, but also to your own child as well. And when I saw this vision, that's when it became really, really clear to me how he has to overcome the same scenario but make a different decision. Because about a year before this vision, I had other visions. And in these visions, I've seen Either it's going to be in this life or in an upcoming life. So it's something that hasn't happened yet. And in these visions, like I could clearly feel they felt like memories. That's why it was so overwhelming that Chris is going to reborn and he is going to be my child. And my true self told me, this is coming from channeling, that we are supposed to teach each other the different ways of love. And there was this vision that still really haunts me, that I was on my deathbed as an elderly someone, and he was next to me and he was holding my hand. And it's really weird because the scene seemed so similar to the trauma that happened to him with his daughter. And before I died, he said the following: I remember you. And in this scenario, my understanding is that he has to relive the same trauma, but instead of hating life, hating everyone, and shutting down, he has to remain open. And one of the interesting things is, I asked this husband from my past life if there was any similarity, or why Chris is the person that got connected to me so much. And he said, because they were so similar. So Chris as this husband from my past life. And another interesting thing I really wanted to share, I shared it a few times, but this is just so mind-blowing. And this is something that I couldn't really understand it scientifically, but sometimes it doesn't matter. It's just the experience is enough. That my husband from this past life told me something, that this is something that hurt Chris the most. This was his biggest inner pain in this life. And when I told him that this is what I heard, if it's true, if it's not true, he hugged me so much, like never before. And this is where the mind-blowing part is, that I could feel the energy from his heart pouring into my heart. And that memory that I kept reliving, that I was hugging this husband and I felt that I wanted to be in that moment and no other moment, no other life, just being stuck, frozen in time. That's the exact feeling that I felt. So I basically relived a past experience, not just the trauma, but the experience, the deep connection as well. So the conclusion of this, that you never know what your real twin flame specifically is supposed to do. It doesn't matter how many videos you watch. These videos can help you to a certain degree to help you see things in a different way. But every experience is going to be individual, and the best way to do is to really look into how do you feel. You have to feel your own pain, but you have to be able to see your twin flame's pain as well. And you have to be able to understand their personality, why they behave in that way, and if that personality is actually missing from you. Because when you don't understand another person, it's generally because you are too different. That's why certain social groups tend to get on so well, and then they want to murder a completely different group. Because when your mindset is so similar, it means that you can understand each other. And this reality is trying to teach you to be able to see other people as well and to accept other people as well. But in order to do that, you have to be able to allow that repressed part within you. So you basically become that version of yourself that is outside of you. And that is the real meaning of a twin flame connection. The big difference between talking to a regular person who triggers you, and it also shows your repressed part, and the twin flame is that a twin flame is able to trigger a lot deeper pain because it's in the attachment to the caretaker. And if we want to talk about brainwaves, a regular person would be able to trigger more about your alpha brainwaves, that is feelings and lighter things. But a twin flame gets really into your rigidity, that is around the theta and delta brainwaves. It is so dominant within you that triggers that jealousy if you are a chaser. And if you are a runner, you can't trust the other person. You feel that you are always on the edge of when to run. You are always ready to run away because you are just so scared. Basically, you're from your own shadow, in a sense, that you have already decided that nobody can be trusted. And that is the core problem in this relationship, that one of you cannot stop trusting, cannot go after the other person, no matter how much the other person is hurting them, and the other person is running away from everything. And it doesn't matter how much the other person proves, they are unable to trust because they feel that they have been betrayed. And betray is possible because this has happened in the past. And what you both have to realize is that you are not children anymore. And just because certain people have hurt you, it doesn't mean that every single person is going to be like that. It's basically, statistically speaking, it's impossible. And what you have to really do is to connect the head with the heart and create a balanced communication within you. And when that communication is relatively proper, that's when you are going to have proper communication between each other as well. But this works vice versa, that if you learn to communicate with each other, this is interpersonal neurobiology, then you can actually retrain this internal communication within you. And that just requires an open mind and an open heart. See you in my next video.